Jawaharlal Nehru died on the 27th of May 1964 and left a void. The then Congress President K. Kamaraj was instrumental in installing Shastri as Prime Minister on the 9th of June. Shastri, though mild-mannered and soft-spoken, was an Uvian socialist and thus held appeal to those wishing to prevent the ascent of conservative right-winger Morarji Desai. After the Indo-Pak War in 1965, Lal Bahadur Shastri travelled to Tashkent to sign an agreement that would formally end the war on 10 January, 1966. One day later, he was found dead. It was alleged that he died of a heart attack, but the circumstances seemed extremely suspicious. Shastri died in Tashkent, at 2 o'clock on the day after signing the Tashkent Declaration, reportedly due to a heart attack, but people allege conspiracy behind the death. Shastri's sudden death raised many questions in the minds of Indian citizens. The Prime Minister of India going to Tashkent for a pact and never coming back has not been accepted easily by Indian citizens. It was maintained that Shastri had died of cardiac arrest, but his family insisted he was poisoned. After Shastri's death, his wife Lalita Shastri had alleged he was poisoned. An epic poetry book in Hindi titled Lalita Ke Aansoo, written by Krant M. Verma, was published in 1978. In this book, the tragic story about the death of Shastri has been narrated by his wife Lalita Shastri. There are still serious doubts surrounding the nature of his death. His son, Sunil Shastri, asked the government to unravel the mystery behind Lal Bahadur Shastri's death. Raising doubts about the dark blue spots and cut marks on the abdomen of his father's body after his death in 1966, Sunil asked how the cut marks appeared if a post-mortem had not been conducted. The death of Lal Bahadur Shastri, India's second Prime Minister, was mired in controversy right from the time his body arrived in Delhi, hours after his demise in Tashkent early morning on January 11, 1966. At the airport itself, there was an attempt to prevent his family members from taking a look at the body. When family members, friends and followers eventually saw it, they were horrified. As Shastri's wife Lalita noted, his body had taken a dark blue hue, even though the PM had been dead for barely a few hours. There were also some white patches on the face. Lalita Shastri recalled, "We were not allowed to go near it even when the dead body was being bathed. It was only after much insistence that we were allowed." Shastriji's face and body had turned blue and were greatly swollen. Body was so bloated that the vest had to be torn off it and the tar could be removed only with difficulty. Later on, when some people pointed to the spots on the face, someone present quickly brought sandal paste in a small bowl and smeared the whole face with it. But the spots could not be hidden in spite of the sandal coating. Certain cut marks were noted in the stomach area and on the back of his neck. The Delhi police, in their reply to a Rights to Information application, said they do not have any record pertaining to Shastri's death. The Ministry of External Affairs has already said no post-mortem was conducted in the USSR. The Central Public Information Officer of Delhi Police, in his reply dated the 29th of July, said, "No such record related to the death of the former Prime Minister of India Lal Bahadur Shastri is available in this district. Hence the requisite information pertaining to New Delhi district may please be treated as nil." This has created more doubts. The PMO answered only 2 questions of the RTI application, saying it has only one classified document pertaining to the death of Shastri, which is exempted from disclosure under the RTI Act. It sent the rest of the questions to the Ministry of External Affairs and Home Ministry to answer. The mayor said the only document from the erstwhile Soviet government is the report of the joint medical investigation conducted by a team comprising RN Chu, doctor in attendance to the PM, and some Russian doctors, and added no post-mortem was conducted in the USSR. Sunil Shastri, son of the former Prime Minister, called the transferring of application as absurd and silly joke. He, Lal Bahadur Shastri, died as sitting Prime Minister. It sounds very silly that MHA is referring the matter of death of second Prime Minister of India to a district-level police. He also demanded that it should be looked into by highest authorities like President, Prime Minister and Home Minister. The committee was reportedly constituted by the Janata Party government to look into the circumstances surrounding the death of Shastri on January 11, 1966 in Tashkent, hours after signing a declaration with Pakistan President Muhammad Ayub Khan post 1965 Indo-Pak War. The records related to the committee are reportedly untraceable, the commission noted. Information Commissioner Sreedhar Akkarulu also directed the PMO, the Mayor and the MHA to publish the statement of categories of documents regarding the death of the second Prime Minister of the country that are available with them. The entire report was submitted to Parliament, which was lost either due to carelessness or on purpose. The documents are said to have burnt down by the successive government. But there is a very curious series of events which followed the inquiry in 1977. The two people Aansoo, Shastriji's personal doctor, and Ramnath, servant, were told to testify the incidents on the days of Shastriji's death in Parliament. Aansoo was travelling to Delhi by road to attend the Parliament session, when he was hit mysteriously by a truck. In the accident, Dr. Aansoo and his wife and their minor son died. Their daughter Ms. Shobhachu, who was about 13 years of age at that time, received grievous injuries on her head and other parts of her body, and her memory was affected and her concentration impaired. Lalita Shastri's personal servant came to Delhi and visited Shastriji's wife and confessed, saying, "Bardin ka boj amar aaj sab bata denj, I have been carrying this burden for long, I will reveal everything today." Ramnath left from Motilal Nehru residence to his way to Parliament. He was hit by a moving vehicle and his legs were crushed, which were later amputated, and was reported to have lost memory in hospital. Coincidence? Two conspiracies theories surround the death of Shastriji. One is that his death was linked to the nuclear weapon development, to which Nehru and Pakistan completely opposed. Shastriji wanted to make India a powerful country by giving free hand to scientists, which was not well received by America as well. CIA has a definite agenda to eliminate nuclear threats from developing countries. Homi Jahangir Babu, under the patronage of Lal Bahadur Shastri, was working to develop nuclear weaponries for India. January 11, 1966, Lal Bahadur Shastri died in Tashkent under mysterious conditions. On January 24, 1966, Homi Jahangir Babu died in an unfortunate plane crash. The dots do connect here. Let us consider the means now. It is CIA after all, infamous for clandestine operations, has access to high-class intelligence reports, sits on a pile of cash and has means to eliminate anybody anywhere. And lastly, let us analyze the opportunities. What's better than killing a foreign dignitary on the land of their bête noire Soviets? It fulfills their motives and puts their adversaries in all kinds of troubles. And here is a candid confession of a CIA operative, Robert T. Crowley, also known as the Crow. Statement 1. His name was Homi Babu. That one was dangerous, believe me. He had an unfortunate accident. He was flying to Vienna to stir up more trouble when his Boeing 707 had a bomb go off in the cargo hold, and they all came down on a high mountain way up in the Alps. No real evidence, and the world was much safer. We could have blown it up over Vienna, but we decided the high mountains were much better for the bits and pieces to come down on. I think a possible death or two among mountain goats is much preferable than bringing down a huge plane right over a big city. Statement 2. Well, I call it as it see it. At the time, it was our best shot. And we nailed Shastri as well. Another cow-loving raghead. Gregory, you say you don't know about these people. Believe me, they were close to getting a bomb, and so what if they nuked their deadly Paki enemies? So what? Too many people in both countries. Breed like rabbits and full of snake-worshipping twits. I don't for the life of me see what the Brits wanted in India. Journalist Gregory Douglas, who was Shastri. Former CIA officer Robert T. Crowley, a political type who started the program in the first place. Babu was a genius and he could get things done, so we aced both of them. And we let certain people there know that there was more where that came from. We should have hit the two, while we were at it, but they were a tougher target. Did I tell you about the idea to wipe out Asia's rice crops? We developed a disease that would have wiped rice off the map there, and it's their staple diet. The rice growers here got wind of it and raised such a stink we canned the whole thing. The theory was that the disease could spread around and hurt their pocketbooks. If the Mao people invade Alaska, we can tell the rice people it's all their fault. Journalist Gregory Douglas, I suppose we might make friends with them. Former CIA officer Robert T. Crowley, with the likes of them? Not at all, Gregory. The only thing the communists understand is brute force. India was quieter after Baba croaked. We could never get to Mao, but at one time, the Russians and we were discussing the how and when of the project. Oh yes, sometimes we do business with the other side. Probably more than you realize. Hand of Moscow in the mystery. Oh, proponents of the second version see the hand of Moscow in the incident. The USSR was allegedly unhappy with Nehru's policy of non-alignment, which Lalita Shastri consistently adhered to, and intended to bring more loyal forces to power in India. In this way they try to explain why information on the circumstances of the death of the Indian Prime Minister was never disclosed. The participation of the Soviet Union, it would seem, could explain how a political assassination could take place on Soviet territory. Conclusion. Who is behind of the death of Shastri? Oh yes, sometimes they do business with the other side. Probably more than you realize. And they did it together.